Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very, very, very special guest, play-by-play voice for the Great Lakes Loons. John Vicari joins Dodgers Daily for the first time. John, I've been trying to track you down for a while and get you on. Super excited about this.
Hey, I'm super excited as well, Casey. Follow your stuff. A lot of people in the Loons front office follow your stuff on a daily basis as well. So appreciate you hanging out with me. And I'm coming on. Yeah.
I'm going to jump right into it. Your favorite Brad Tunney saying, when the ball's low in the basement, when it's high, it's in the attic, or when he touches the base, he hits the pillow. I got to know your favorite one.
No, I mean, those are all great in terms of description, and definitely some of his stuff is like fused into what I do. But when it's the ninth inning and he says, hey, welcome to the ninth inning, I get chills every time. And it's an inside joke with us now, so he never forgets to do it when we're working together. But I told him earlier this year, that's his Bill Raftery beginning of the game type of the game thing. Because, Raft always will give you man-to-man, whatever. And Brad always, when the ninth inning comes, he's welcoming you to it. And he's been fun to work with.
I did not put this on the question log, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to see your reaction on a dry run here. So what's the closest you've ever gotten to the attendance? I know you guys love doing the attendance, and you have the over-under, and you go until somebody gets it. What's the closest you've ever gotten?
I mean, I have such if you watch and people who listen and watch, I'm so bad at it. And Brad gives me, grief for gamesmanship, but like I try and delay my response to him because he's going to get it in like 6 to 7 guesses, where I'm going to need 11 to 12. I don't attend the Tuesday meetings, and I won't be attending tomorrow because we have to hit the bus to Fort Wayne. But usually it's a forecasted projection for that day. So Brad has that at his disposal, but also he's just been around the block. He has a feeling of what he's seeing. For me, I'm not too off the mark, but those closing guesses when I'm close, I'm just never right, unfortunately. So my success rate is not where his is at. So I try and make it harder on him because he's been great. I think he's missed one this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you grew up in New York. You went to Ithaca College. So I guess the question is, how in the world did you get into broadcasting? How did you get involved with the Dodgers and specifically the Great Lakes Loons?
Yes, so I grew up in Queens, New York, and kind of a product of my environment. I mean, you could look up the names that have lived in the 5 boroughs and what they do, both men and women in the sports broadcasting industry, just being in a 9-team market, basically, I guess now 10 with the newest soccer team in town. But like, you grow up around sports, you grow up around one of the biggest media capitals in the world. And that was just something from an early age that I wanted to do. I tell people I must have realized early on as a kid that I wasn't going to be a star athlete and that this was more of a realistic, attainable goal and kind of focused into that, because I even chose my high school based on where I can get the most reps. I went to St. Francis Prep in Queens. And funny enough, I would have been zoned to go to Benjamin E. Cardozo High School, where Josue DePaulo went for.
Oh, nice.
I think like a year maybe, and then obviously went to the Dominican Republic. But I went to Prep just because they had a broadcasting program and did everything in the gymnasium that I could. I didn't do baseball, but I did everything that they had in the gym. And then I decided to go to Ithaca because it was close enough to New York within the state, but also having that go away to college experience, affordable, at least more affordable than other schools that I was applying to. And they have a great broadcasting program. So I cut my teeth there, did a collegiate summer league team, Albany Dutchmen, who are now defunct, unfortunately, Wisconsin Rapids in the Northwoods League. And then my job out of Ithaca was Lake County because...
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I got it maybe February, maybe early March, but
that's where they have the toilets, right?
No, now they have the toilets. They didn't have the toilets when I was there, but yes, now they have the toilets. That's their claim to fame. But I was just, like right before probably like spring break, because I was still living in Ithaca, but I was a December 2021 graduate. I was like, all right, 2 teams that haven't gotten back to me to say no was Lake County and Fayetteville, which is the low A for the Astros. So I called Lake County and got that job, which was great. It was a solid out of college job. It's, there's a few number of people who like right out of college get a minor league job. So I was fortunate. Obviously bottom of the totem pole in terms of Midwest League, just because when I got there, they still hadn't had a TV broadcast, and this was 2022.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, it was only radio, and how it fused into getting the Great Lakes job was the fact that Lake County and Great Lakes played each other a lot that year, especially late in the season. There was a late August or early September series for Lake County and Great Lakes in Midland. And then that helped Lake County clinch a second half playoff spot because Great Lakes had an historic first half in 2022. So we had a 6-gamer there and then a playoff series. Lake County won that series and then would eventually lose to the Cubs, who were led by Pete Crow Armstrong back in 2022. Yeah. So they were the Midwest League champions that year. And then, all right, I got to see Midland a lot, 2 regular season trips and then the postseason appearance. So my goal was to return to Lake County for the next season, but they had a change of ownership, bad communication from their front office, so they let me go. I was applying for other jobs, and I was applying for Fredericksburg, and their number one, his name was Eric Bach, and it still is. He does a great job. But as I'm doing the interview, and it was a fine interview, but I'm doing the interview, I'm like, where do I know this guy? Like, why do I recognize him? Then I give him a Twitter search, and he was the guy that Brad hired to be his number 2 for 2023. Yeah. So I realized, okay, there's an opening there. And luckily I had connected with Brad during that off season. We followed each other on social media, but I connected early in the off season when he was applying or when he was taking applicants for that job, because I just wanted to see how he did things in terms of hiring a number 2, because I thought I was going to be hiring a number 2. So it kind of all worked out. He was on vacation in Africa, was Brad, when Eric told him, hey, I'm leaving for this number 1 in Fayetteville. So I was just following Brad on Instagram, all right, posting a story from Africa, whatever. The day he didn't post anything from there, I said, all right, he must be back in the States. Gave him a text and said, hey, you looking for a number 2? And he was like, yeah, it's crazy. You know, Eric left, whatever. And I said, I think I'm your guy. And the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So I got to ask you, how did the foot race go with Kendall George?
That's a good segue. I knew that was going to be in there. I like, he's got 80 grade speed, and it was a good reminder to people. And that's what I wanted to highlight from doing this feature, because even after it, Casey, you know, people in the Loons front office were like, no, you're just super slow. Like, there's a couple of us could beat you. I'm like, guys, he has 80 grade speed. He's not just, okay, he's the fastest guy on the Loons or the best base steal. His speed is ridiculous. So that was to see that up and close, and no way was he going 100%. He might say, oh, yeah, I was. He wasn't going 100% against me. I was going 100% and had a head start. It wasn't even close. But he has been so much fun to watch. He's so quick, and he's going for history because the Loons franchise record for stolen bases is hanging in the balance.
Yeah, he got there. I think he broke the record of D. Gordon the other day, got to 50 stolen bases faster than anybody in the Loons organization. Like a rehab, though, John, the main deal is whenever you do this with these players like this and you lose, the key is, did you come out of it healthy? That's the big thing.
Yes. That one, I wasn't concerned about that, luckily. Okay. Not to the age where I'm pulling a hamstring or anything. Luckily, you know, I definitely stretched beforehand, though, but I wasn't. Luckily, it was a short race. I told him I wanted to run line to line, first base to third base, and it was an off day for him in the lineup. So he's like, I'm not doing all that. And I don't blame him, because he would have beat me by even more. It would have been even worse. So, yeah, I'm glad he took it easy with me from the right field foul line to center.
We will get into the Loons here in just a second. I wanted to get into something that's dear to my heart, because I broadcasted high school football for about 20 years, basketball, baseball, you name it, in the high school scene and all that. So I know that you're really big into the high school scene broadcasting-wise, so talk about that and what that means to you. Sure,
yeah. It's definitely unique because doing it in Michigan is a different beast than what I grew up with in New York. Like where I went to high school in Queens, we had a public park that we used for games, but we didn't have our own like stadium. So the varsity team actually had to play games 20 or 30 minutes away from the school in terms of just a football perspective. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't the same. There wasn't, we had bands, we have a great music program at St. Francis Prep, but there wasn't a band at the field and homecoming. There was none of that. So I get here to Michigan, and after my first year with the Loons, luckily it opened up where Brad said, hey, you know, if you want to stay around, there's an opportunity to, and they're trying to grow something at the station here. And we just continue to grow at the MIT, which has been so much fun. But doing the high school games was really just a culture shock for me because, again, you have the bands, you have them not just during the game, but a halftime presentation, homecoming, senior night, all this stuff, and really the entire community at these games, wherever we go, in the Great Lakes region, it feels like the entire town is there, no matter the level, whether it's 7-on-7 or some of the smaller schools or the schools that have 1,000 kids in them. It's a big event every Friday night. And the same with the basketball too. The basketball has been so much fun, especially on the girls' side, because there's just so much talent that goes and plays high end. But really the passion that exists there, because New York, it's just pro sports. There's not a lot of even college sports that are a big deal, at least in the 5 boroughs, maybe more up north. But in terms of in the city, it's pro or nothing. It's cool to be in a community where these people are passionate about high school sports. The kids are. And, as just broadcasting from it, there's something different about it, too, because, most of these kids play that final game. It's their final game, not all of them are going to college or whatever, but they just bring 100% effort, and it's so much fun to do.
All right. One last question before we get into this year's team.
Sure.
Dow Diamond, the group there with Great Lakes Loons, it just seems like, of course, I'm not close to it, but it seems like Midland, the Great Lakes area, and the Loons are just really connected together very well. So how does that happen? How do you view that?
Yeah, it's all possible with the Michigan Baseball Foundation and obviously Dow's backing a Fortune 50 company that's right here in Midland, Michigan. But obviously having that funding, but they do so much for the community, grants that are given to the community, and just interconnected. And I give a shout out too to the Dodgers and to the players. We ask a good bit of them here at the high A level, whether it be community days, meet the team like we had on Sunday, where our fans stuck around post game and got to get autographs from the entirety of the team, including coaches, athletic trainer, everything like that. And that's them willing to do it as well. But we're everyone's hometown team at the Loons. That's our like the slogan, and it's what it is because we give back to the community. The proceeds, whether it's from our 50-50 raffle in ballpark, it's going back to the community. So you come to the Loons, you're all right, you're paying for parking, food, but it's going back to you in the community in the long run. And it's we try and put an entertaining product from our presentation, from Brad and I's broadcast, and obviously can't control the baseball, but being a Dodgers affiliate, it's always a lot of high-end talent.
Yeah. So let's get into this year's team, and you have to start with Josue De Paula. You have to start with Zaire Hope, Kendall George. Talk about those three.
Yeah, I mean, those were the three that we knew we were getting coming into this season. Like last year's final game broadcast, I spent a good portion of it just being like, next year the outfield's going to be crazy from the jump. And it has been all season long. These are just talented guys. The Dodgers now #1 prospect in De Paula, the #2 in Hope, and George is up to the #11 if you follow MLB.com's rankings specifically. But they all give you something every night. That's kind of how, especially in April and May, I try to position it on the broadcast that like, hey, one of them is going to do something that you're going to remember leaving the ballpark if you come out to a game. George is
every day.
George is going to steal a base. DePaul is going to rock a ball somewhere, and then Hope's just going to do it all, and he's going to be in the lineup every day. That's been and I'll start with Hope. That's been the main thing, the main takeaway for me, because there's no Cal Ripkins anymore, right? And there's maintenance days and everything like that. But Zaire Hope is in the lineup almost every day, and a guy who's hitting close at this point to 300. Top 2 in the or top 5 at least in the Midwest League in OPS at the time of this reporting, and every day is just giving 100%. So he has been a pleasure to watch. A guy whose obviously story's unique, being traded from the Cubs, coming here to the Dodgers, and he's been terrific. De Paula is just a presence in the box. Even last year as a 19-year-old, because he finished the last 50 with us with the Loons. He just is an imposing figure, and that's hard to be at that young age. Like everyone calls him Baby Jordan. They did in the Futures All-Star game. It kind of is that. You pitch around him. He was intentionally walked late in August last year when teams were going for the postseason if they could in certain spots because they didn't want to face him. He was that hot. And even if they did want to face him, he just has such patience in the box where his walk numbers are always going to be high. He doesn't have a high strikeout rate. And then for Kendall George, I think the biggest thing this year is that the focus coming into the season was to add extra base power, and that's what he's done with doubles. And it's with his speed, of course, too, but more hard hit balls. He had the early homers in April, which was cool to see. And obviously the speed has been ramped up. I don't know specifically, and I kind of wish I did, but the last couple of series, the stolen base expectation from the team from top to bottom has just been elevated to a different level. And I credit the coaching staff and the players obviously for that. But, up and down the card, everyone is trying to get another base, and George is the catalyst for that. And he's gotten on extremely well in July in terms of getting on base. And each time he's aboard, he seems to not only steal, but kind of manufacture a run with the guys behind him, or in some cases, like on Saturday night, just forcing a bad throw on a stolen base attempt and scoring himself. So they've all three have been really special. They've lived up to the billing, and they're all still so young.
Yeah, no doubt. Your thoughts on Mike Sirota in the short time you got to see him, and then Eduardo Quintero just got pulled up. So you haven't seen a whole lot of him. You haven't seen a whole lot of either one of those, but your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, I mean, Sirota, kind of like an old-fashioned, old-school throwback. Like him and Kevin McGonigal of West Michigan, to shout out another, just guys who are like, all right, I'll do anything to hit the ball. Like, they just don't strike out. And, everyone's focused on, analytics and launch angle. And those guys are too, don't get me wrong. But, like, for Sirota, it just seems like, all right, he's going to get a barrel on. He's going to get it in play no matter who he was facing. And he just was a magnet for the baseball. And even, as you mentioned, like the short time, he's had two different injuries. Had an illness where he was out a week. And then obviously the new injury, which I don't know 100% on, so I'm not going to speculate, but he's been placed on the 60-day IL. But when he was healthy and when he's, been consistent in the lineup, it was a guy you could just put right away in that heart of the lineup on a stacked team too, joining a Loons team that has the offensive firepower, putting him in the third spot, and he fit in right away. I mean, you always expect a little bit of a drop off from the California League, just because it's all right, low A to high A. It's a higher level of pitchers. He was even better in high A than he was in low A,
right.
Which is just crazy from Sirota. And then from Quintero, I mean, we just got him. So already making an impact on his first at-bat. He singled on a ball that was definitely out of the zone, just reaching down and poking it into right center field. I've only spoken to, I just asked him to make sure his last name. That's the only conversation I've had with him, but he, his numbers speak for himself in terms of what he did with Rancho.
Yeah. And you have guys like Jake Geloff, Cameron Decker, Logan Wagner, not necessarily have the highest of averages this year, but they have very, very high ceilings. Lots and lots of tools. So talk about the rest of the position player crop you've had this year.
Yeah. I mean, Wagner's been a standout. Wagner, has been constant in the middle of the order, even when he's, if there was like, certain slumps, he was never put down on the card. He's always had to have the expectation of batting behind DePaula and Hope. Yeah. And he's produced. I mean, RBI wise, he's still top 5 in the Midwest League. He had a tremendous May and June, and he's been more quiet in July, but then, just jumps out of it this week with a solid week. He had a walk-off. He's got both walk-offs. And, positioned where he knows he has to bring in runners, but just a guy who has the clutch gene, is unfazed, is very calm, and always a positive personality. He's the one guy that'll talk, not the one guy, but a guy that will always, I would say, talk to you on the bus, say hi, say what's up, and is, very liked in that clubhouse for Wagner. So he's been great. And yeah, the strikeout numbers I'm sure are a bit higher than he wants, but he makes up for that with extra base power, double-digit home runs. For Cameron Decker, a guy who, again, was injured, so that first half of the season, that first chunk, just didn't get to see him. But since he's gotten back up to high A, you would think that, he wasn't injured for a couple months and that he was playing consistently in low A because he just, got here and just, hey, all right, in clutch spots, hitting home runs. But, yeah, he's a talented player. And then for Jake Geloff, I mean, I think he'd tell you that, yeah, the strikeout number is way too high for him this year, and it's a returner to the level. But he has a ceiling that's high, in my opinion. The numbers aren't going to illustrate that at this current moment. But when he impacts a ball, when he barrels it, it's up there with top prospects. This past weekend, he had a ball hit 107, 387 off the center field fence, and probably out in some ballparks. But when he impacts a baseball, he could do damage with it. And part of, why the numbers might not be there, but you still have, that high ceiling, that thought that, he could turn into something just based on what he does when he hits it.
You ever seen Geloff and Vetrano in the same batting practice group?
Yeah. Geloff, Vetrano, and Thompson are just they're just a fun group. They were playing because Saturday, the rain was just in and out through the day, so we had the tarp on the field, and you couldn't really do anything. And they just set up disc golf in the outfield, and we're just playing to just stay loose. But I
saw that Wagner nailed it the first shot, didn't he?
Yeah, it's something else. So they. There's something. And Vetrano's been great too. And I think, when I talk to scouts when I'm on the road and they ask me all right, who's someone who's under the radar? I tell them, it's kind of tough on this team because everyone's a top prospect, right?
Yeah.
Even Wagner, he's top 30 in MLB.com. There's, at least from the offensive group, it's all right, who am I going to give you that's under the radar? Everyone's kind of, covered appropriately, but I would say it's Vetrano. He had some great stretches this year. He plays a good first base. And I just think he's the most under the radar guy where he's going to, just feels like he gets on base. Even in what's been a poor July for him, he's going to get that walk. He's going to at least fight in at bats too, not go down, swinging on 3 pitches or anything like that. And he's been fun to watch this year. Your
impressions of Eric Swan?
Yeah, he's got great stuff. He's got great stuff. And, there's a preseason article on MLB.com talking about him changing the slider grip during the offseason and how important the fall league was for him. And when you could have the fastball at 98, the cutter in the high 90s, and then work on this secondary pitch, which he's working on, and you noted it during his last start, he could probably just throw fastball and cutter and make his way through outings, but he wants to get that off-speed stuff to that top level as well, and that's what he's doing. So it's not just all right, I think I can get away with just throwing the top 2 pitches. No, I want to work on that third and fourth offering because you need to have those 4 pitches if you're going to rise. So a big guy, 6'7", and this stuff is crazy. Obviously, there's a lot of heat in terms of the pitching, and when he's on, it's tough to match. He has part of Loons history with a combined no-hitter this year, and then Roque Gutierrez, who's now in Double-A Tulsa. But when he's on, it's special. Yeah.
Ronaldo, you talk about special. That right arm now, he needs to throw more strikes. I'm going to go ahead and say that straight up. There's no way to sugarcoat around that. But man, it takes your breath away when you watch him throw, doesn't it?
Yeah, you said it in terms of command, and we're harder on him than any other arm because it's this is not me being a negative Nelly. It's based on how it is statistically. This Loons team has the most walks in all minor league baseball, any level, right? And it's just the give and take that you're going to have with arms that are developing, but that all throw, 97 plus. Yeah. For Yeen, the triple digits, and he's been better in recent outings where it's he knows he can get it 97, 98 in the zone, but the Dodgers want to see him put 100, 101 in the zone. And there's been command issues. There's been, hitting batters issues for him, but a reminder with him, he's 21. The other pitchers on this Loons team, not old by any sense, but it's mainly a crop from 23 to 25. He's one of the younger guys in the bullpen. That was elevated obviously because of what he did in Low A Rancho, and it's been up and down, but that velocity, it's just at a different level than other guys. Ideally, and I think it's just the Dodgers, pitching minds working with it and making it, progressing Yeen. But Edgardo Henriquez, had the same tendencies early on in Great Lakes and then figured it out and then just rose from there. Yeah. It's going to be sooner rather than later, I think, for Yeen, where he's going to tap into something where he knows, all right, velocity's there, I could put it in the zone. Then I have that second offering, whether it's a cutter or slider, that's just going to be a big velocity drop and fool hitters, and then maybe have that rise like Henriquez did, because his command when he got, and he was pitching in April, but his command was a little wonky, and then just figured it out, and then all right, started in IA last year and finished on the World Series roster. So
Alex Makarowicz, another one of those power arms, just like in the same situation with the Yeen, when he figures out, not if, when he figures out the strike zone, consistently watch out for him, Jorge Gonzalez. And then also I wanted to get to the left-handers. Of course, Luke Fox just got promoted to Double-A Tulsa. You got to see him. You got Maddox Bruns, who's had some great outings this year. Some other kind of been that up and down train for him. And then obviously Wyatt Crowell, who had just his last couple of outings have been super fantastic. So talk about the left-handed pitching on the staff.
Yeah. I mean, especially with Fox, now that he's gone, he was, I talked about under the radar earlier, kind of not overlooked him, but like he just was the guy who consistently gave you 4 or 5. So like when I was talking with other people about the pitching and all right, this needs to change, Fox was always solid, like solid when he got here. I think on the opening day roster and solid through the campaign. And it might have not been like, dominating stuff to the level of Patrick Copen this year where he got the promotion, but Fox was deserving of the promotion and up in Tulsa right now, obviously. But he was great. For Bruns, he's just a guy you hope figures it out soon because like you noted, I mean, the stuff's there. And he was regarded by the Dodgers brass, namely Billy Gasparino, coming out of high school. Is like, all right, this is the best high school left-hander in the country when they drafted him. Right. And it's more, I want to say like, it's got to be a mix of mental for him along with, just because of the physical injuries, because Bruns, always has the high velocity, has the slider that works well too, mixed with that fastball. But it's got to be mental just based on the injuries that he's had, the elbow impingement. And you feel for him because you just watch him and you feel, all right, he's going at 100%, but that 100% wasn't what it was like probably for him a year or two ago. And he's trying to adapt to that because just the injuries, and I think he tell you this, it's not the same as it was a couple of years ago from his stuff. And he's trying to adjust on the fly with that. But, which is tough, and that's where it's like, all right, you have to change things and specialize things when, most of your career, especially early on, even after being signed as a high schooler, you could just rely on that 95 to 97 heat. Now he knows, all right, it might drop a little in terms of 92, 94, and the off-speed stuff has to be there. And then just doing that on a consistent basis week in, week out. But, he's a guy still with so much upside. And even though he's been here in Great Lakes for 3 years, still, again, considerably young, 23 years old, so has time to figure it out. And hopefully sooner than later for him in terms of getting a call up to Double-A Tulsa.
Yeah, talk about figuring it out. Sean Pauling, Jan, Nicholas Cruz, they've had to figure it out all year long.
Yeah.
What makes those two? I mean, they don't throw like 100 miles an hour. What makes those two so good?
Well, Lignon, it's the changeup. I mean, Brad and I were talking about it off-air metrically because he just returned from IL. And, for Brad, it was just the different metrics that he saw with it. And we just kind of had a conversation off the air about it. Like, yeah, it's a changeup, but it's coming in the high 80s and it's a higher spin. But the way it's moving, it's not moving like this. It's moving towards a right-hand hitter. It's still a changeup. And, so I guess some people –
so it cuts. Okay.
Yeah, it cuts. Nice. It does. Yeah. It does. Wow. So it's a unique pitch where it's not, all right, this dead fish changeup, or it's not a kick change like some guys in the majors who throw it, in the high 90s. It's kind of like this again, just like in-between changeup, but it works for him. And then he's a guy who just pounds the zone. He's still 20 years old, but in terms of the command – sets that changeup up like that's the finisher pitch, but fastball slider can get it into the zone. And then Nicholas Cruz, man, we've gotten him for like now 4 different stints, right? Like he was called up last year in South Bend and had to get into the game 2 hours after flying and touching down in South Bend, Indiana, shoved against Dayton, then started the season here, or at least was pitched in April, shoved. And then, all right, they're going to put him down in Low A Rancho and let him, get some reps under him and then come back up. And he came back up and he shoved this week. So he's just like, he hasn't allowed a run as a loon. So all we've seen of him in these weird, spot appearances where he's kind of plucked from the complex league or plucked from Low A in an emergency scenario or just, hey, we need another arm, he's delivered. So once he's camped down, which I think he is finally, all right, you're a loon. You're going to be here for more than a week. You could unload the suitcase and relax. The ceiling's up here because he's already, again, in these spot appearances, been dominant. No runs, I think, in like 9 innings. So he's been great. And I'd have to look more into his stuff just because this week we were broadcasting from a pontoon boat. So it was a little to kind of see the stuff with him. But he's someone this week in Fort Wayne I'm going to try and highlight because, there's something to it because he just comes up here and dominates.
Peyton Martin, I know there's been some ups and downs. There's been some injuries. Seems like he is back on top of his game. So do you mind talking about him?
Yeah, the main fix this year was the pace. Like, he's pitching at that quick pace. And for some guys, it's, all right, now you're going too quick and you have to slow it down. For him, it was, all right, I want to work at this quick pace. It's comfortable for him. And I think it helps him repeat delivery. He's a unique case where he was committed to be a shortstop at East Carolina. And the Dodgers, just because of the potential with them, said, you throw it hard. Let's make you a pitcher. Drafted out of high school in the 17th round in 2022. And the Dodgers, it's been the Dodgers project. Like, he didn't, maybe threw a couple innings in high school, but he didn't throw, like, he wasn't a pitcher. And the Dodgers like, all right, we're going to make you a pitcher. And it's been a learning curve for him in terms of, all right, how you get ready for a game and what you're supposed to do pre-game. Like, that was the big focus last year with Jackson Ferris. They, I think, lived together on the road and in Midland in terms of being roommates before Ferris was called up. And it was more, I don't want to say Ferris taking him under his wing because they're similar aged, but more in terms like, all right, how to be a pitcher, because Ferris has been a pitcher his whole life, where Martin, he's just been an athlete his whole life, is very athletic and still has that great defense off the mound right now with the Loons. But for him, I think the quick delivery has made it easier to repeat that delivery. And then that arm talent is great. High 90s, hitting it. And, he gets out in front of hitters where they have to call time, get him out of rhythm. And this year, more than last year, Martin's staying in that rhythm, and it's led to great result.
Talk about the great staff.
Yeah, with the pitching, it's Eduardo Dominguez this year with Sean Coyne, but they've been great. There was always this concern from, oh no, David Anderson, because David Anderson was this wizard here with Great Lakes. Like, oh no, DA got the promotion. Like, good for him, and he's in AAA Oklahoma City, but who's going to be the pitching coach? Yeah. And it's Sean Coyne, and he's, I don't want to say the same guy, obviously, but I had that preseason conversation with him, and I'm like, all right, this guy, knows so much, is so smart, so great. And Eduardo Dominguez is such a unique story too, being from Spain. Really nice guy, obviously bilingual, and helps out so much and has a great knowledge for this. So the pitching coaches, and we'll see how long we get them here in High A, but they know their stuff. And with Coyne, with both of them, really hard workers to get to this level.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think across our coaching staff, it's just guys who had to really work to get noticed. With Coyne, it was like the drive line stuff. And obviously being roommates with Rob Hill. And Rob Hill has a great story in terms of how he got into the Dodgers ranks, and two guys who pitched at, not a no-name college, but like a low-end college, and then, lived together and are now both, high ups in terms of the Dodgers pitching ranks. Same thing with Dominguez. Spain is not a baseball hotbed, but, he's been such a hard worker to get to this level. The staff is good. Bench coach Joe Thon, I think, deserves a mention too. He's a guy who's bilingual and just a great guy to be around. It's amazing how well he speaks Spanish. Obviously, grew up.
Any relation to Dickie Thon?
Yes, it's his
okay.
son. Yes. So
nice, very nice.
And he was raised in Puerto Rico too.
Okay.
So obviously, like Dickie Thon, raised in Texas and stuff, but also a residency in Venezuela. So for Joe. Both of that, and he's been so special. And he has managerial experience too. He came over from the Astros system, 2 years managing, so he's been good to for Jair Fernandez, someone to lean on, someone who's been in those spots, and then for Kevin LaChance, I mean, there's got to be pressure on him, right? Because you put all these top prospects in on one team. It's like, all right, well, this better be the best offense this year, and West Michigan, had the better start and still rank higher up. But for LaChance, I don't think that pressure has gotten to him too much. I think he's run a steady ship, and keeps these guys committed in turn. Like that's the one thing too with all of them, keeping these guys committed to nutrition, committed to schedule, just reminders, and making sure they tap into their greatness. So I give a kudos to this coaching staff, because there's been some tough times and times this year where you're like, wow, a team with all these top prospects, they should have a better record and this and that. And this week they, post All-Star break, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just 3 or 4 days off, but they've been unflappable, just one loss since the All-Star break. And the pitching has really stepped it up, and then the offense, continues to be special.
Any promotions we need to know that's coming up?
No, DePaula is on the injured list.
Okay.
7-day. That's retroactive to Saturday. He had that really undisclosed injury. He was going to second, on a pre-pitch. A ball was hit to the outfield. It was caught, so then he had to come back and then left the game after that. So right now he's on the injured list. We'll see if he travels with the team. That'll be tomorrow. But that's the only thing I've heard in terms of right now. So he was placed on it yesterday, again, retroactive to Saturday, and hope to see him back so we could have the outfield of him, Hope, George, Quintero as well, and have that four-headed monster in a way at this current moment. So it's been the best outfield in all minors all year long, and even with DePaula out, it still is. But it's going to be great to have the Dodgers' #1 prospect back soon, hopefully.
Not going to let you out of here before I get your favorite moment as a broadcaster.
Ooh, wow. There's been some great moments. I especially in the minors and especially here in the Midwest League, I'm kind of privileged. There's been guys that have spent long times with certain teams, and they don't get the postseason games that I've gotten. I got 6 in Lake County my first year. Then I came to Great Lakes in 2023 and got 6 there, losing in championship game 3s twice. Last year wasn't the postseason, but I've already called 12 postseason games. Yeah. Which, for other guys around this league, it's like, wow, 3 seasons, 12 games, definitely spoiled from that perspective. But yeah, best moment, like it's cliche, but like my next, the next game is kind of how like I channel it. There's always been something special along the way. In high school, I got to call top end basketball talent in New York. Guys like Cole Anthony, Jose Alvarado, NBA guys at the current moment. In college, the Ithaca women's team won the conference championship, and that was a really fun run and fun to be a part of. And I was the main broadcaster on the TV side of things for that, so that was a lot of fun during my junior year. And then here in the minors, obviously the postseason isn't like it is at the major league level, but it's a different type of vibe when you get those postseason games. And I've gotten so many. I've gotten 12. Yeah. And they've all been great and great runs, like especially the trip with the Loons to Cedar Rapids. I'll remember for the games. I'll remember for just having the Loons front office, bus down to Cedar Rapids and it be a group event. And that team was, in terms of players, really good guys. And this year too, not to, not say they aren't, but the 2023 group, great guys. And, after losing that championship, still hanging around the hotel afterwards and having like this kind of communal event was very cool for them, especially because I'm sure, last thing they wanted was to, all right, go down memory road this season. It's tough losing, you spend the whole year and you make the postseason, you want to win it. And at that time in the Dodgers system, then you immediately had to go to Arizona last year. And I don't know if it's going to be the same this year, but last year you had a little bit of a break before they had a report, or if not at all, 2023, right after the season ended, they wanted you, even if you weren't in the fall league, in Arizona to round out September. So they didn't have a break even after the postseason. So it's like, all right, if we're here, we want to win. And they just fell a game short in a 7-inning game, unfortunately, to a talented Cedar Rapids team. But the night after, or the hours after that game and that whole run was a lot of fun.
John Vicari, play-by-play voice for the Great Lakes Loons alongside Brad Tunney. I've taken a lot of your time, so this is so gracious of you. I greatly appreciate you coming on, brother.
Casey, thank you, man. You do a great job, and we love following it here in Midland.
Hopefully it's not the last time I talk to you, man.
Yeah, and keep putting Brewbaker on. He's the man.
Austin, I was going to ask you, has Austin Brewbaker, my co-host, has he taught you how to do the funky feather yet?
Why, you think I don't do it well?
Okay. Yeah, fantastic.
He nails it. He does. He's on the road too, and I look to the dugout and I just see him go, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. John Vicari, thanks.
Thank you.